It's time for To the Max Sports, where we talk about sports. They're just two guys, Max and Drew, in a bar talking all things sports. Well, without the bar. And the beer. Wait, why aren't we in the bar?
All right, y'all know what time it is. It's time for
To the Max Sports.
Amen. Yeah, I can't say it every time.
All right.
All right. How's everybody doing out there?
Well, apparently all the Texas fans are, wow, not doing.
Yeah, but it's a process for Texas.
You know, I found out last night that I think I really hate people. Like,
okay, well, I always thought you did.
I mean, people in general. So I'm walking around downtown San Antonio with all the knuckleheads that are walking their ass to the game. And
we're talking about for those, the Alamo Bowl game.
The Alamo Bowl, Washington, Texas.
Yeah.
And all I'm thinking to myself is, stop getting in my way. I don't care what you're trying to do. This world is for me. You're living in my world.
You know what? We haven't done this segment in a while. Can I do a real quick get off my effing lawn?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, it is the end of the year. Go ahead.
So this is Puro San Antonio, and it annoys the shit out of me. Overshooting your parking space and then proceeding to back your truck into the space when there's one right to the right where you can just whip in and park your freaking vehicle. I hate it. And it's purely a San Antonio thing. And it took the Latinos in San Antonio 40 years to semi-perfect it. And now I saw an owl doing it the other day. An old white lady.
An owl. That was my next question.
I've never heard that acronym before.
Yeah. And, you know, if it took the Latinos in San Antonio 40 years to perfect it, please, white people, just stop. Just park your car. You don't have to do the whole backing up.
But that's the question. Why do you back up? Why does everybody back up?
You're getting out the same way, and that's actually takes longer.
Actually,
you're not robbing a bank.
What I have heard is that studies have shown backing up out of a parking spot actually leads to more accidents. So backing into a parking spot so you're going front out is actually the safer option.
That's why they do it.
Now, that being said, I will take your get off my lawn and do you one better.
Okay.
Assholes in South Texas that buy big ass trucks, and they don't even have to be dualies, but dualies are like a double dose of this.
Mine's not a dually.
Okay. and who decide I'm going to drive into a downtown of a major metropolitan area, which goes back a fair way. So our parking lots, our surface lots are kind of small.
Yeah.
And decide that they can fit their big ass lifted truck into the same spot a Honda Fit can go. And then proceed to spend the next 10 minutes parking into it.
I know. That's a good get off my lawn. I'll do you one better. There was a dually a couple weeks ago going down the highway at about 90 miles an hour, just zipping in and out of lanes. I'm like, you freaking idiot. You know, you're in a vehicle that you'll probably survive, but you'll probably kill the family of four in their little Honda, you know?
Yeah.
It's a San Antonio thing, man.
Okay. So actually sports get off my lawn.
Okay.
How about your Cowboys?
They look really good. Yeah.
What was the final score then?
It was
27-13.
27-13, and Dak threw, 2 more interceptions?
One of them wasn't his fault. You know, one of them was his fault.
Actually, I woke up when I got up this morning. I got on there. I'm watching ESPN on the phone and the computer. One of the things they keep talking about is this is the first time that there's so much communication, either online or with sports shows, news, where everyone is talking about what Bob just mentioned. Now they're talking about having a category which says which interception is a quarterback's fault. I mean, Joe Montana, all the interceptions, he didn't throw that many, but they were all his fault. Dan Marino, they were all his fault. Tom Brady, he has most attempts and passes their own, but also he has a lot of interceptions. But you know what? Every one of them, he says, it's my fault. with Dak, and again, I love the Cowboys. I support Dak. His thing is, well, let's figure out which one's my fault. That's part of the game. Well, you know what, dude? You threw it. It's your interception.
Well, at the end of the day, he should definitely take that tact. He should take ownership. Us as fans and analysts and amateur analysts that we are, I mean, we can kind of parse those out and say, when a receiver takes the ball into his hands and it kind of pops out of him and goes to the other team, and on the stat line is 2 interceptions and they're both charged to the quarterback, but one of them I'm going to go,
He had one of those last night. You're right.
Oh yeah,
he did.
Yeah, I mean.
Didn't he have a pick six a couple weeks ago too?
Oh yeah,
that's what he's talking about. Jacksonville. Yeah.
He's actually thrown an interception in a game for 6 consecutive weeks now,
and he's had 2 that they were picked off last week and the week before for a touchdown.
But here at the end of the day, a win's a win. I mean, they did what they had to do.
A win's a win, but if I'm a Cowboy fan and I'm not, I would be a little to use a big word, trepidatious about going in to quality teams. Now they've been good against, teams that are above 500, 7-1 this season, but you're getting ready to go into the playoffs.
Yeah.
The one team the Cowboys are that they're going to have, they're not going to be able to beat. Let's call it. It's going to be San Francisco. I'm not saying it because Bob's here, but honestly, let's say they play Carolina. They're going to play Carolina I'm sorry, I meant Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay doesn't scare me. Minnesota doesn't scare me. Now, the Eagles, yes. 49ers, yes.
Talking about Minnesota, did you see that they're going into Green Bay this weekend and they're dogs? They're dogs to a sub 500 team.
That's because that's why
Green Bay's still got an outside chance to get in the playoffs.
Green Bay, Carolina, yeah.
And Rodgers still has an outside chance to reconcile with his family.
But who would have thought that a couple weeks ago?
I know.
Apparently, Ron.
Yeah. But you got to be happy with Hilton.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well, and that's
taking a little pressure off Lamb.
Yeah, and that's what they need receiver wise, because when they let Amari Cooper go, they didn't realize what they did, and now they're figuring it out. So they need him because Washington didn't pan out. He came back healthy and missed the pass, and they said, you know what happened to Washington? Where is he? So they need a receiver. I think that's one of the focal points for next year.
Well, this is the fun part of the year with the NFL teams. There's teams that have something to play for, and there's going to be one of those teams that's going to sneak in through a confluence of events where one team loses, this team wins, and before you know it, the Saints or somebody are in. It's kind of cool. Something else I was going to ask you. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, yeah, I did lose in my fantasy playoff, so I'm out.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. I know there's always next year.
Always next year. Hey, that sounds familiar.
There's always next year.
There's always next year.
So I think Bob, you had a really good week. I think you went 3-0. You might have gone 3-0. I went 1-2. This is a tough time of the year for me to pick because teams are resting. I don't know. I've never done well late December, but I guess we're going to wipe the slate clean for the playoffs. So I'll grab my belt and say that I won the regular season, but there's the playoffs now. So, having said that, what do we got going on for bets so we can let the people out there know who we like
for this weekend? Well, we only have 2 since we missed last night's game, and quite frankly, I think we all would have picked the Cowboys and laid the points, and that was a 12-point spread, which is big. Now, I was actually waiting for the Titans
I'm not quite sure if I would have done that one. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, Sunday night we have the Steelers on the road to the Ravens.
The Ravens, it's -2.5.
Yeah.
Is that what you have?
Let me see. Where was that? Yeah, -2.5 to the Ravens. Okay. Ravens at home, which I don't know. I'll pick first on this one, and I'm going to pick the sentimental favorite. I want to see Mike Tomlin get above 500.
I agree with you, Bob. I think Najee Harris will keep that ground game going. I think Pittsburgh will do enough to eke out a win against the Ravens team that you don't know what's going to show up.
Well, Lamar Jackson is listed as questionable. He was a non-participant in practice yesterday.
I mean, that changes some of the dynamics. The spread will definitely drop. Or if he plays, it's 2.5 now.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh's getting 2.5.
Pittsburgh's getting 2.5.
If he starts, he'll probably bounce up to 3.5. But I'll take Pittsburgh in that game.
Yeah, if I was betting this, I might pay a little bit of extra juice to get that spread to 3.5.
I don't think from just talks coming out of Harbaugh, I don't think that Jackson is going to be playing. So I'm going to go with the Steelers as well.
Yeah, and Jackson, he's missed a couple 3 games every year the last couple years, but this isn't a good look for him going into a season that he was betting on himself, negotiating for himself. I think this injury is costing him money.
Well, let's talk about that for 2 seconds. One of some information coming out of his camp is
his camp is him and his mom.
Well, with him, yeah, but he's saying, well, he's not saying it, but there's some information coming out. Now Baltimore realizes, and they're going to realize, without him, they need to pay him. That's why I don't think that he's going to play, because they're going to say, look, we're going to lose again. Without him, it's just going to show his value. And it's a smart play. In the beginning, I thought, this guy needs to get back as soon as possible so he can show his worth. But now at this point, Drew, don't you think that he should sit out and then say, look, you guys cannot make it anywhere without me?
Maybe that's what they're doing. But usually questionable means they're going to play. But to your point, I agree. I was thinking about this too. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks in the NFL. Can we agree on that? And this is a weak, very weak quarterback draft class once you get by the Alabama kid.
Well, I mean, on the free agent wire, Jimmy G is going to be available.
Oh, that just heated up last night.
What do you think about? Some people are saying that I think the Jets should make a phone call.
Not just the Jets. That guy, and I do think he's a good quarterback. Right now, he can go to the Raiders. He can go to the Jets.
Yeah, they're sitting Carr.
I know, and Carr's gone. They're not saying he's gone. They told him
they benched him for the rest of the season.
But he's out of the facility. He is gone.
That's weird.
Because they didn't want any kind of interruptions, any kind of distractions.
Something must have happened.
He's gone. I mean, he's not there. So with Jimmy G, you know what? His value continues to grow.
But do you trade him in the same conference?
Jimmy G, there's even rumors of him going back to New England. And the reason the Daniels wants him is because he used to coach him at New England. And Daniels is showing that if he doesn't do something like this.
And all the scuttlebutt when Jimmy G was traded to San Francisco was Bill Belichick wanted to move on from Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And the only way that didn't happen for Robert Kraft was fine. I'm going to send him away.
He did. So wouldn't it be perfect for Jimmy G to come back to New England or the Raiders to go under and reunite with his coach? I
just don't see them trading within the conference. And if he officially wants to end his career, they'll send him to the Jets or the Giants.
Yeah, well, if I'm a quarterback, I don't want to go to the Raiders. I don't want to go to any team that's coached by a Bill Belichick assistant.
The Raiders have to do something, because if they don't, they're going to lose Devontae Adams, because he's there because of his buddy. They send his buddy away, so we'll see. So talking about sending away, the Bills are going to the Bengals to go play away. The Bills are playing there in Cincinnati, but Buffalo is you get -1. That is the most exciting game, I think, this week.
That could be a precursor of things to come.
AFC Championship, is that? Yeah.
Possibly.
I think so. I mean, the talking heads are talking Cincinnati as the best team in the AFC right now, even over Kansas City.
They're good.
I heard that this morning.
They're running the ball, and their defense is starting to. They're not San Francisco defense, but I'd put them in the top 4.
Which is interesting, because the book for me on Cincinnati before Burrow gets there is they have a good beginning, they falter, they sneak in, and they lose. Yeah. Now they falter, and then they slowly get that flywheel charged up, and they just go balls to the wall to the playoffs.
They look very similar to the Chiefs last year. Remember, they kind of floundered, and then they just picked up steam at the end. It's kind of where the Bengals are trending.
I like the Bengals.
I'm going to make certain that the Bengals lose. You know how?
You're going to pick the Bills?
I'm going to take the Bengals.
You're going to take the Bengals? Okay. All right.
Which assures that they don't win the game, but I think they're trending right. The Bills are suddenly, to me, seeming like a one-trick pony. I mean, they got the defense, but after the quarterback play, there's just quarterback receiver combo there.
What do you say, Bob?
I don't know. I'm kind of looking for to kind of segue a little bit into the CFP. I'm looking for like a Max Duggan kind of effort on Josh Allen's part. I think he's got a little bit to prove. I mean, they listen to the talking heads as much as we do. So they're going on the road. I mean, he's going to put that team on his shoulders and do something. That's what I expect. So I'm going with the Bills.
All right.
Okay. And I think that running game with Mixon, I had him on my fantasy. This guy is healthy. Him and P. Wright, I'm taking the Bengals. They're going to run the ball.
And was that the NFL games?
That was the NFL games unless we wanted to add a third.
No, I'm cool with that.
Okay. Do we want to go and transition into the CFP?
Let's do it. Man, tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow.
I will be sitting there with my hot cocoa.
And you going for TCU?
Jammies.
TCU or Michigan? Let me see.
Who am I going for?
Let's see. I know he's going to be going. You're going for Max Duggan, right?
The only thing I may say about Michigan, I think they'll win, but I think it'll be an interesting game. Is that'll give me a chance then to root for the Buckeyes, and we can have a rematch. That's the only reason I take Michigan. At the end of the day, I'm going to support the Big Ten teams. I don't care who it is.
Gotcha. I'm going to go for TCU just because of the tree with Mike Leach passing this past week. Riley, which is the brother of the USC coach, he's the offensive coordinator for Sonny Dykes. And there's Sonny Dykes. Sonny Dykes. And I think I want the offensive coordinator Riley to call a good game. And I want the upset. I'm from Michigan. I love Michigan.
So you're not going for analytics. You're going more for sentimental.
I think it's gonna. They've had a couple of weeks to put it all together, and I think he's gonna surprise them. So I'm gonna go with TCU.
Well, I'm a hard-hearted individual. Apparently, I didn't cry at the end of Marley and Me. No sentimentality here. I'm going with Michigan. I think this is a 2 to 3 possession at the end of the game. I think Michigan trucks TCU.
I haven't cried since Old Yeller, but that quarterback for Michigan, he's a real deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's I think it's all of the Cincinnati game last year against Alabama, where they kind of hung around, and there was like 35-13 at the end.
Yeah, and TCU's kind of the book on TCU for me is let the game get a little bit out of hand, spot the other team some scores, and then come back. If that happens, I don't think Harbaugh is going to let him back in the game. I think he's going to take the foot on their throat and push down and break their trachea.
Yeah, he's going to pin his ears back. If TCU lets Michigan get out to a 21-6, 21-3 lead, forget about it.
Yeah, I mean, TCU's resume is more embellished than Santos's.
I've had TCU all year, so they haven't let me down. So, yeah, that's funny. Next one is Ohio State and Georgia. This one can get out of hand.
It could.
This one can get out of hand.
I don't think this one will. I'm gonna take Georgia on the money line and Ohio State with the points.
Okay, so
I think Georgia wins, but Ohio State covers.
Really?
Yeah.
I've been vacillating.
No, you don't think of your heart. I mean, give me.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't play with my heart, and I don't bet with my heart. But at the end of the day,
don't play with that heart.
The thing with me is Travion Henderson's out. Mayan Williams has been sick. It's going to rest on the shoulders of a quarterback I don't trust, Stroud, but then receivers that I love. Conclude Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh, God. You know what? I'm going to ensure that they lose and don't cover, but if I had to put my life on the line, give me Ohio State in 6.5, which I think will probably go up to 7 at game time. But I'm going to take Ohio State and the points.
Okay.
But having said that, if they get to Stroud, if he throws a pick six, or this game could get out of hand really, really quick.
We really haven't had good semifinal games in my memory. Usually a lower seeded team gets trucked. I think this is going to be the exception. I really do. I think this is going to be a good game. I don't think the TCU Michigan game is going to be a good game. I think Michigan's going to come out, TCU's going to spot them, and Michigan's just going to break their hearts.
I hope for 2 good games, but I think Georgia. I'm going with Georgia because I think it's time, and we need to really sit and really enjoy what's going to happen in Alabama for the next couple of years. Now everything is being passed to Georgia. Georgia's head coach is the one that really, when he was at Alabama, handled all the recruiting for Nick Saban. And now that he's established and just set up this awesome
Man, I don't know.
team at
Alabama's
Georgia.
got a monster recruiting class.
Well, but he started it. And now that he's there at Georgia, he's doing the same thing. So I think it's going to be passed over to him. With that being said, he has so much talent on that team. I think Georgia just is going to just dominate. And I see them winning by.
Yeah, they're a well-oiled machine. I think they lost like 13 seniors last year, and they just came back.
Yeah, an interesting stat going to Alabama. 88 selections for the Pro Bowl. How many of them are to Alabama grads out of 88?
Let's see. Cowboys have one.
I'd say probably about 20 to 25% of them.
You're high. Actually, it's 11. But the next biggest school,
10%.
2.
Who's the next big?
I think it's Ohio State.
Wow.
Ohio State sends a lot of guys in.
Yeah, that's.
But that's exactly what I was saying to Bob's point. That wasn't necessarily Nick Saban. That was the recruiting coordinator, the coach, and he's coaching who now? Georgia. This guy, he's a real deal. And a lot of credit does go to Nick Saban. But one of the polls this morning was, if you could change one thing next year, what would it be? And one of the things was, man, let's have Nick Saban retire. We're tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. They're waiting for the next guy.
No, I mean, I wouldn't. Here's my book on Nick Saban. When Nick Saban starts bitching and moaning about something, be prepared because he's about to weaponize it. He was bitching and moaning a little bit about NIL. I think Alabama's weaponized NIL.
They have.
And I would not want to be up against Alabama next year.
No, they're gonna be nasty.
So Bob,
junkyard dogs. Speaking of which, you see any major college coaching changes coming down the pike?
so you're taking Ohio State? You said, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna take Ohio State in the points.
I have Ohio State in the points and Georgia on the money line.
Now, do you have? Okay, so you got Ohio State winning, covering the game.
I have Ohio State covering but not winning.
Okay. That'd be a fun game.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. On the college front, do you see any? Some heads are starting to fall in the NFL. I think Denver lost their coach. Do you see anything on the college football front? Any guys with
promotions to the NFL?
Well, no, jobs on the line.
Oh yeah. Well, Carolina's they're going to have to make a decision, and the reason that Daniels benched or removed is a better word. Carr, he's not even in the facility because his job was on the line, and the way to fix it. That's why I think that strongly Jimmy G might be going to the Raiders because his job's on the line as well, and not just that one. Look at the Jets. He's having to do everything he can to kind of settle everything down with the Jets, the Raiders, Denver. But then what about is Tampa? Are their coach? Is he safe? I mean, they went from Super Bowl to what in a couple of years, and Tom Brady's not going to be there.
He's safe for other reasons, but he's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tom Brady. I was talking about this a couple days ago. Where does Tom Brady go? I actually and I hate this because I do not want this to happen.
I think I know what you're going to say.
I only think there's one team that he could go to and get what he wants, which is a shot at a Super Bowl.
San Francisco. Yeah, he's from there. Yeah,
and I don't want it.
He not just San Francisco, but thank you for opening that up. The reason that I wanted Bob to go there is because that's where he was going to end up. But here's what happened yesterday, day before. Tom Brady had a conversation, right, when he was kind of downplaying it, but he didn't want it out. But he had a conversation with the management ownership with the Dolphins. He wanted to be part ownership. Now, Tua.
Well, I mean, you say conversation, I say collusion and a little bit of illegal tampering, but you can say conversation.
Let's say text. So with that being said, what came out this week?
Ain't trying.
Yeah, this week, Tua, and I saw the play when I was watching Miami. He gets hit, and I see his head go back. I'm thinking, man, is he okay? He gets up, he shakes his head, he goes back in. So now there's reports, and that he's in the concussion protocol again.
He put himself in the concussion protocol. He's the one that
You're right.
stood up and said, I'm having symptoms.
He's having symptoms. But here's the thing. Here's what was failed. Now with the NFL, they have specific people that are assigned to watch those signals or the symptoms, and it's been going on in several games. The game before that, somebody was actually, I think it might have been for Denver, was taken out. I'm not sure if it was Denver or not, but just because the gentleman was shaking his head, it was a linebacker, they took him out, and they did what they needed to, but with Tua, they keep missing it. Miami's at the point where, look, if they continue with this with Tua the next couple of games, he's had 2 or 3, 4. I think it's gotten to the point where, you know what, Tom Brady surprisingly might go to Miami and with Tua.
But interesting observation.
But Miami is in a conference with the Bills, the Bengals, the Chiefs. You look on the NFC side, who else is on the NFC? I mean, it with the San Francisco defense, it's almost a walk into the Super Bowl for them in the NFC.
I think Tom Brady, he doesn't want to, quote unquote, no, I'm not saying he doesn't want, he's okay with taking a team like Miami and taking them to the playoffs and playing for the Super Bowl. If he loses, he rides off to the sunset, he retires. Hey, look, I made it to the AFC Championship game. I'm part of the ownership here. I have a house in Florida, got my kids.
I don't see Brady.
Yeah.
I don't see any scenario where San Francisco makes it to the Super Bowl, that all of a sudden Brady's quarterbacking the team the next year. It just doesn't make sense to me. Miami does, because they got a situation where Tua may have to. I mean, his career actually may be on the line right now.
I think it might. I think there's an outside chance it's over. I'd almost see him going the way of Andrew Luck.
It's not a non-conspiracy, is it?
You know how many operations he had at Alabama?
Yeah.
4. Serious operations.
Take the money, young man, and don't hurt
Please.
yourself long term.
Yes. And he might evaluate it and say, you know what? For my family, I'm going to retire.
That's what the kids from the Colts did.
Luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know it's funny that you say that. He has some specials coming out here soon about Andrew Luck and why he retired.
Oh yeah. I mean, I listened to an interview with him, and yeah, it is really fascinating. That guy is really cerebral. I mean, really in his head. He had an existential crisis as he was recovering from some of the injuries that he's had over the years, and he was just like, what am I? Who am I?
He didn't like himself. He
didn't like what he was putting his body through, his family through. His marriage was almost on the line.
And to see that picture, right, of Tua with his fingers locked up like that.
Yeah.
Bob, that was bothersome. Yeah. It really was. And Drew, I think you said it. I think he's going to evaluate it this summer and then sit down with the Dolphins, and they might make a decision. It's like, look, you know what? You want us to trade you? What do you want us to do? We want to protect you. You can be a backup. Let Tom come in here and let's rest, because that head injury doesn't go away. It doesn't go away.
I still don't think Brady goes to Miami.
Of the likeliest scenarios, I would say that he would, but who knows? He may just stay put. He may retire.
But we said it first, though, just to let you know. Bob, Drew, and Max. Remember
anything else before we wrap up the show, fellas?
Just have a great holiday. Be safe. And, get off my lawn. Here in San Antonio, that little triangle, it's yield? That means what?
Well, no, yield means, see.
They're yelling.
I have my own theory on the whole traffic light things. If they really wanted you to stop, they put up a traffic light. So a stop sign is really a yield sign for me. A yield sign is kind of look as you're going through at full speed.
Thank you. That's all I'm saying.
Yellow light to me means hurry up and press the gas.
Well, that's the line from Starman. Red means stop, green means go, and yellow means go faster.
Go faster. Yes. Oh, joke aside, you guys have a great holiday.
Yeah, we ended the show with Getting Off My Lawn. We started it with Get Off My Lawn. But we will be back here on this lawn come next
year.
Next year.
We'll see you all next year.
Y'all have a blessed holiday season. Until then, OH.
Happy Chinooka.
Sick 'em Bears.
I-O.